What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Ethereum today. The purpose of this video is to give a kind of general analysis on Ethereum as far as what the short-term, mid-term, and long-term expectations are for Ethereum. I shouldn't even say long-term, but I just mean like end of cycle whenever I say that, okay? So between now and the end of the cycle, I want to go over kind of the game plan, the playbook. Let's see how it holds up. And if that sounds good to you, hit the like button, subscribe, and let's get into it, okay? So again, we're going to start with the short term, kind of what's happening between now and the end of this month of August, what's going on between then and the end of September or October, and then the end of the year, and then, of course, the end of the cycle, which I think the end of the cycle will either be December of this year or more likely sometime in 2026, maybe as late as May of 2026, okay? Now that we have an understanding of that, let's look at this on a daily time frame here. 13 minutes left in this day, the 20th of August. We'll probably still be talking about Ethereum by the time the new day rolls over. Looking like we are going to get a very bullish engulfing candle here. Technically, and some people would say it's not engulfing until it engulfs the wicks, but I think, if you engulf the body, what do I know? I've only been doing this for 10 years. But it seems, if it walks like a duck, it might be a duck, man. And that's a pretty damn bullish engulfing candle right there. Just remember, guys, yesterday, 24 hours ago, even earlier today, hell, how long ago was it? Let's see. Maybe like 12 hours ago. Yeah, about 24 hours ago. The world was on fire. People were panicking. We're going down. Bull market's over. Bear market's just beginning. This is a rejection, blah, 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 all that stuff. And now we're reversing that. It's all gone. We're back to where we were here, and we're looking like we want to rise and see new all-time highs probably by the end of the month. I do want to say before we get into the video too much further, I was making a prediction that we'd consolidate here for about a week or two, and then we'd move up going into the middle part and the late part of September. That might be whenever we start to move up, or even the very beginning of September, but not have an end of August rally. I think that we will get an end of August rally. I actually do think we will, and the reason for that is there's this pretty powerful indicator, right, on the Fibonacci retracement. If we look at this relative low to relative high, typically when you close below the 382, like we did, I don't know why I didn't draw. Can I not? Okay, it's lagging for some reason. But typically whenever you close below the 382, like you did here, that means you're going to go down to the golden ratio. If you close below it, but then the next day you close above it like this, it's a very powerful reversal signal, and typically you get immediate continuation with that. We've actually seen this with Bitcoin, right? If we take this relative low, literally the same kind of concept. You take this relative low to relative high, you came down to the 382 and you closed below it. I remember on this day we were saying the next day we need to close above the 382. And this low prevails as long as we continue to close above it. We close below it again, but here we are closing back above it. So that's getting that reversal again, although it's less potent the second time around, as anything is. What we did, and what I might expect to do with Ethereum, is that we saw a massive reversal from there. We just ripped in a very short amount of time. You ripped all the way up, man. You did very well. And on the way, you even back tested your 382 for support. Remember that. That's kind of a key part there, and that validated that you did move up higher. I think Ethereum might be getting set up to back test its 382. We're at 43.30 right now, going down to about 41.80. A good reason for that, if we look at this on a one-day time frame, on the Ethereum liquidation exchange map here, exchange liquidation map, we've got about $4 billion, $3.5 billion in longs that have been piled on you guys in the past 24 hours, okay? That's a lot of cheese. A lot of the shorts, it was like $3.5 billion yesterday. Now it's $1.2 billion in shorts. We've cleared out the shorts, piled on the longs. We clear out this massive structure of longs here once we get to about 4,200 or even below 4,200. If we got to 4,170, we're clearing out about $2 billion in longs. And that would take us right back to this 382 to find support and then continue to run, which again, we did that exact same thing with Bitcoin here. I'm not saying because Bitcoin did this, that means Ethereum does this, but wouldn't it be serendipitous? And if we look at this on the short-term stuff, right, we can make sense out of that. We look at, and actually, I want to bring that back. Hold on. I want to put a line right here at this 382 right there. And we'll delete this 1 hour time frame. Okay, so if we're looking at this here from a relative perspective, right, we're on the 1 hour time frame now. From a relative low to a relative high, the golden ratio of this fib is right down there at the 382. It would make all the sense in the world to go down to that area, actually. It wouldn't be crazy at all. I want to make sure that the mic and the camera's still working. My computer just kind of glitched out real quick. Hold on. Looks like everything is fine. Everybody can hear and see me. Okay, that's good. But yes, it would make a lot of sense to go to the golden ratio. Now, we don't have to. Just because the golden ratio is here, just because Bitcoin went to its 382 and Ethereum looks similar right now, doesn't mean that it has to do any of that, right? Maybe we come down and we find support at 42.50. That's where this 382 is. I will say it's very common when finding support at the 382 to wick a little bit below it and then come back up. What would wicking below it mean? Well, I don't know. If we look at this structure here where most of these longs are placed, for like 42.35, we're clearing out $1.3 billion of longs. That 382 seems pretty obvious of an area, right? And then beyond that, if we look at this for what it is too, okay, delete some of the chicken scratch here. If we go down to where this low was right here, you see how it scoops up like that, and then we've got this deep kind of V right here. If we come down and we find support at the 382 like that, we've got an inverse head and shoulders pattern, you guys. And the volume profile is pretty appropriate for this. We really could be setting up for an inverse head and shoulders pattern. If that's the case, we should see, going into, we're on the 1 hour time frame here. So going into the end of this week, I would assume that we see a massive rally. I say massive, it's nothing too crazy, but similar to like what we saw today, we would see something that takes us up to about $4,700. And then we're on our way to new all-time highs, guys. Like, we're doing fantastic. So if we do get held up at about $250 to $200 or $4,250 to $4,200, we've got inverse head and shoulder set up, right? If we go down to about 41.75 or a little bit lower than that, that's fine. As long as we're closing above about 41.75 on a daily basis, we can go below the 382. We don't want to close below it on a daily basis. As long as we're holding above that, I think that we're due for something of a rally just like this with Bitcoin, right? You close below your 382, closed above it, and just fantastic. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but if you ever see this setup, let me put it this way, okay? Because we're making this closing below a very exciting thing. It's normally not. When you close below the 382, it's not an exciting thing at all, okay? It's actually means you're going to the golden ratio. But if by some grace you get a close the very next day above the 382, that combo, it's a two-step dance right there, right? You have to wait for the second step to take place before you really get your groove on. That combo oftentimes does signal a powerful reversal off like 90% of the time, you guys. It's a very, very reliable thing. It's something that you can stick in your back pocket. Even if you don't know TA, man, you use this fib, high to low. I put mine, and just so you know, I don't know how many of you, might be getting that idea, but let's just, let's take the high to low here. Yours will look different than mine. I have mine set up, but if you double click it, you scroll down, just make sure that it's fib based on log scale. That way we're at least getting the same readings, right? Even if it's based on linear, it's fine, but I'm getting distracted here. So let's look at the indicators. RSI kind of looks like you want to come down, which makes sense. We're expecting that a little bit, right? Stochastics have been overbought, which is nice. And the MACD is bullish as well. You've got room to run. You've definitely got the right signals going on to continue, but maybe just pump the brakes a little bit first. Cool down, consolidate, and then come back. You can form a higher low in your RSI, higher low in your stochastics, and your MACD really, even if it comes down a little bit, it's not a big deal. The 4 hour time frame, plus it's the 1 hour. The 1 hour on the MACD doesn't really matter that much. Sometimes it can have key signals. Some of those signals are definitely powerful, but most of the time I don't really weigh too much on the 1 hour MACD. Oh no. Are we without internet or something? No, I've got it here. What's going on though? Okay, well that was weird. The RSI is bearish technically on the 4 hour time frame. We're at an area that we found resistance before, an area that we found resistance before, an area that we found support before, an area that we found resistance before. It's all the same area right here. Might we come down? I think we will, right? Suggesting that we do go a little bit lower, right? Where are we going to go? 42.50, 41.70, somewhere in that area, right? That's the expectation. When? Between now and the end of tomorrow, the 21st. I wouldn't be surprised if the 21st, tomorrow, starts off on a bearish note. Maybe it starts off on a bullish note to fake people out, and then we drop. But I would expect we really do start off the day on a bearish note, potentially ending the day on a bullish note, a kind of neutral note, but coming back up and having a wick below, if not even closing green. But I would expect a little bit of a come down. What we're looking for is support at the 40 or support at the 50. We're not looking to get oversold. We're not looking for lower lows. If we get lower lows in the RSI, we will likely see lower lows in the price, okay? The MACD looks good. I like what you're doing here. Overall, it kind of actually is weird. Just below the zero, above the zero, below the zero. Not really any regard for the zero line here, but you are freshly crossed and you look like you're ready to build, so that's nice. The stochastics are bullish too, but you are at a point where it almost looks like you want to reject down here. So come down a little bit, come back up, maybe find support at the 50 or something. Do some stuff like this, promote some bullishness. Even if you consolidate for a day or two, that's fine. But I would think that 41.70 to 42.50 is probably where we're going to go. Looking at the daily time frame here, daily time frame looks great. The RSI is immaculate, absolutely immaculate. You want to bounce off this 50, man. We're going to get that, right? We close in about 4 minutes here, 4 minutes 20 seconds. We close about 4 minutes 20 seconds. Smoke if you got them. Bounce off the 50. We get this green day. It's going to bounce off the 50. Same thing with the stochastics, dude. All of these are very bullish signals. So the MACD's freshly crossed red, but whatever, who cares? It's still in a bullish posturing with these oscillators. I don't think that we're going lower, you guys. I really don't think we're going lower at all. On the weekly time frame, we zoom out a little bit. Yeah, what's up with that? It's taking its sweet time, isn't it? If we look at where we found support this week, we found support literally right at this prior area of resistance that we found for like a year and a half, okay? We found support right there, immaculate support. 24 hours ago, the world was on fire. Everybody was bearish. People were screaming, bull market's over, right? Ethereum just broke out of its consolidation phase 2 weeks in, and now the bull market's over. Ethereum hasn't even seen new all-time highs yet, and now the bull market's over. Yeah, everybody's saying the bull market's over, and now the bull market's over. I don't think so, man. I don't think that's how it works. What do I know? This is just my third cycle. If we're refreshing this here, that's my favorite thing to say, because whenever the trolls try to talk smack, I'm like, what cycle is this again? I remember my first cycle. Yeah. I thought I knew what was up to. Everybody does. Everybody wants most people actually are very humble, and they're here to learn. And if you're here to learn, you're going to make a lot of money, or at least prevent yourself from losing a lot of money. If you think you know everything, well, I've been there. And it's not a pretty end of the road, but you know, I was able to afford that loss. I was living at my mom's in my first bull cycle, you know, and second cycle got me out of my mom's, and now third cycle we are hopefully going to buy mom a house. That's how, you know what I mean. That's the progression. That's how it should be. We'll see. She'll probably be able to buy her own house with this with the funds that she has in crypto too. But $4,300 anyways. $4,300 right now. Weekly time frame. What was I saying before I got off? I got all distracted. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, if you're still in this bearish mindset that we're going down, you're wrong, man. Right? You were wrong there, but you're extra wrong now, right? Absolutely extra wrong right now. You're in denial at this point if you think that we're gonna be going lower, if you think the bull market's over. This is the exact kind of reaction you want to see when continuation comes. This is the exact kind of reaction you want to see. Backtesting prior resistance for support. I absolutely believe that we're going to continue to rally. So we've gone over what I think is going to happen basically between like the end of this week and going into next week, right? I think that we're going to move down to about, you know, probably in the next 24 hours, 42.50 to 41.70. Then we'll come back up, probably ending the month with a nice pump. I do think we're going to see an end of month rally. I think that 382 reversal that we were talking about really does signal that we're going to see some immediate growth. So where are we going to go? From a relative high to relative low here. Man, TradingView is being laggy. Maybe it's because of where I am in the house. Maybe that's what it is. Come on, TradingView. High to low. First target would be about $5,500. Okay, so by the end of August, I really wouldn't be surprised if we were up here. If we're looking at this from a relative high to low, our primary target is $5,000, our $5,000 to $5,300. And, you know, we've got our secondary target zone at 55 to 5,600. We probably are going to be somewhere around there. Definitely, I think, at new all-time highs. If not, I mean, potentially even above $6,000. Hold on, let's look at this on a daily time frame just to make sense out of this, right? End of August is right here, okay? That's September 1st. At the pace we've been moving, it's completely feasible that, you guys, we could be above $6,000 by the end of this month. We could genuinely be, look at that, the 2618's all the way up here at 6250. We could be all the way up there, man. Absolutely we could be. Absolutely we could be. Let me delete all this real quick. Hold on. All right, we're just going to make it simple, high to low here. And sorry, that's not the low, that's the low there. 2618's at 6250. We take a high to low here. Where do we go? Is there a fly in here? How did you get in? You're going to die, fly. Flies are afraid of me, man, because I do karate. Karate flies, man. They don't like it. Why, TradingView, are you abandoning me? TradingView has forsaken me, you guys. We gotta wait. Gotta wait just 1 second. Hold on. Moments like this are a good time to reflect. Really think about what you want in life. And all right, here we are. We're back. So this high did go all the way back to all the way up to the 2272. So that's a pretty deep extension in itself. It fell just shy of that. It's really not too far fetched. All I was trying to do is make a point out of that. It's really not too, man, I put on a bunch of fibs there, didn't I? It's not too far fetched. What the hell is going on? To assume that we go to 6250 or even 5900. Certainly something above 5,000. Certainly I would believe that we do see new all-time highs by the end of the month of August. So we've got what's coming over the coming days. A little bit of down, a little bit of back up, going over the end of August. What's coming up over the next week or so, a couple of weeks. And going into September, we should absolutely be throttling that 6K level and running all the way up to $8,000. I think by the end of September, we will see $8,000. If not end of September, then October. But at the pace we're going, you guys, I wouldn't be surprised at all with the momentum that we have. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we started to see prices at $8,000 by the end of September. You know, I'm thinking, my mind just drifted somewhere real quick, and I'm thinking about, isn't it funny? And I've been talking about this. I literally was saying this before we even got to the low. But isn't it funny how we got these news pieces that Cathie Woods, ARK Invest, that BlackRock, that Grayscale, that all these big institutions in crypto are selling their Ethereum? Isn't it funny how we heard that news at the low, but we heard a bunch of bullish news at the high? Do you understand what I'm saying here? Don't trust the media. I mean, what they said is true. That's not a lie. They probably did do that. But by the time you hear, if they tell you that they did it here, they probably did it here. You know what I mean? That you hear the news now, but they did it back here. You know what I mean? Like that. And we can trace it. There's time blocks. You know, it's publicly transacted stuff. Like I'm sure there were people that panic sold down here, and maybe even some big institutions too. But sold to who? Maybe like their subsidiaries or something. I don't know. Did they sell to exchanges? I doubt it. Maybe they were pushing the price down. Maybe they have some kind of cahoots with the exchanges to liquidate people, and then they make profits. I don't know. I don't know how it all works, the inner workings are. But the main point that I'm trying to say, beyond getting into conspiracies of crypto here, the main point that I'm trying to make here is that, isn't it funny how at the absolute bottom, that was literally at the low that you heard those negative things. And this is something that I said at the very top here too, was that when the shakeout happens, it's going to be fast, it's going to be intense, there's going to be news stories, there's going to be media pieces that make you think it's the end of the cycle or that something dramatic's happening. All the big institutions are selling hundreds of millions of dollars of Ethereum. Oh my God, they must know something I don't know. That's the story. That's the idea they painted down there. Look at what happened, right? We ripped afterwards. Don't use the media as a form of analysis. It's not going to help you, right? This media that we're doing right now, we're doing technical analysis. It doesn't count. I get a pass, okay? I get a pass because I'm special. My mommy says I'm special, okay? I'm a special man. From a high to a low, talking about being special, let's move on here. I would expect that we see $8,000, right? Bull market high to bear market low here. $7,700 is the minimum target at the 1272, and that target's a little bit flexible. It's the 1272. The golden ratio, however, is a little bit less flexible. It's a little bit more rigid, and I would expect we do hit that target, that very rigid target, at about $8,000 by the end of September. Okay, so coming days, a little bit of downside. Coming day, even a little bit of downside and some upside over the coming weeks going into the end of August. We should be at above $5,000, even new all-time highs, right? If we're at $5,000, potentially as high as $6,000 by the end of the month of August. Going into September, we continue to reach, and by the end of September, we should be at $8,000. Now we're getting set for the end of the year. Where are we going to be by the end of the year? I think going into the end of the year, October, November, December, we'll probably consolidate. Back to 6,400 or 5,500, depending on how volatile Ethereum wants to be. It's very common, and I can imagine that whenever we're up here at $8,000, just imagine we're running all the way up to $8,000, and then we top off, and we're going through another consolidation phase. Ethereum's had some very long consolidation phases throughout this cycle, some very long ones. We just back tested our prior resistance of our most recent consolidation phase. What's going to be primed in people's minds whenever we stop here? Oh, we're going to back test our prior all-time highs. I don't think Ethereum's going to give you that opportunity. I think what's more common, and this is a little known fact about the fibs, right? The fibs are my bread and butter. I've been doing this for almost 10 years, you guys. This is the only reason I know this. And I mean, you know, reading and practice and experience. But if you go to the 1618, it's pretty common to find support at the 1414 or the 1272. So if we go to $8,000, if we went to $5,500, how many people would be waiting for that $4,800 mark? Think about that, right? Oh, it's so obvious. We would go down there, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. This is a little bit less obvious, but it's still a pretty common thing to do, going from the golden ratio to the 1272. So after September, I think we're going to consolidate for a month or two, come down to about 5,500, if not 6,500 at the least, right? Something in that area, find support here, and then going into the end of the year, we'll continue to rally, right? Going into December, we should be at $10,000, maybe as high as $14,000, right? Something in that area, $10,000 to $14,000. If we're not at $10,000 by the end of December, then we're going there by the end of January, okay? So maybe if it's not by the end of the year, then maybe it is by the end of January, because sometimes we do have these, oftentimes enough, we have these end of year rallies that actually finish, they top off in January. In January, you'll have a red month overall, but we'll have a relative top in January. Consolidate in this, what I believe to be 10 to 14K area, sometime in the, and let's move this box over, sometime in like the end of December to January, right? Something like this. And it's being glitchy, huh? We'll top off there, probably pull back to our golden ratio. Then we back test prior resistance, something like that at $8,000. Maybe, maybe not, depending on how high we go. If we go up to $14,000, maybe we find support at 10K. I don't know. Consolidate there, you know, February, March, and then going into April, May, we'll see our cycle finale finish all the way up at about 22 to 23K, okay? 22 to 24K, somewhere in that area. That doesn't mean that has to happen, okay? Looking at this here, and it's a bunch of chicken scratch, but I'm most confident that we will see $8,000 by the end of September. As far as all the other prices, I really do expect that we'll go up to about 10 to 14K for our next resistance zone after that, and then top off at 22 to 24K after that, and consolidate in between both of those moves. But as far as what time it actually happens, I don't know. I'm thinking we move up now to 8,000 by the end of September. I'm thinking we consolidate end of September going into the end of October. End of October going into November, we start to move up going into the end of the year, or maybe even October, November, we're consolidating. Going into the end of the year, we start to pump, we start to rally. We'll see 10 to 14,000 by the end of the year. If not early next year, right? We might be there. We might have that end of January or early January kind of rally. And then we consolidate for a couple more months going into Q2 with our cycle finale finish. That's my thoughts right now. And again, we're going to finish at 22 to 24K. So I don't have anything else that I want to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Take care of yourselves. I'm going to karate chop this fly in half. Oh, there he is. Yeah. Yeah. Fun fact, if you have windows like mine, where they, you know, here, like you can see it in the reflection there, like goes up, right? If you have windows like that and you have a fly, you just pull your window up, they get stuck behind the window. And then you leave the window up and you get some nice cool mountain air, hopefully if you're living in the mountains, and then the fly dies the next day or so. And you don't have to swat it and get guts all over your window. This has been a fly murder video brought to you by your favorite insecticider, I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to end the video before I keep getting weirder. So hit the like button, subscribe, do the thing. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.